Hello and welcome. So, I recently ran a Learn to Play event at my local gaming bar, Rule Zero. The main focus of the event was obviously to teach new players. We got about 9 to 10, maybe 11 new people coming in to try out the game. And I had sort of had a little hidden ulterior motive, which was to test out the new Dorinthea versus Rhinar starter deck. How did it feel for new players? Were there any concepts people had difficulty grasping? How was it as a actual like new player product in the live in one of the main ways that it's going to be used? Right, it's going to be used two ways. Uh, Primarily, the first way is of course someone buying it to play with their friend. I had a few people who did that. They said it was actually very easy to grasp. The rule book was quite good. They got the rules online. They figured everything out. Everything kind of worked. Right. That's the first thing. So people have tested that. They've told me it's a good experience. The other experience, how well is it? How good is it for me as a new player? Sorry, for me as an experienced player, teaching a new player to play. How quickly do they pick it up? How easy is it to teach with the concepts of the deck? How easily do they grasp like the attack reaction stuff in Dorinthea, the draw and discard stuff in Rhinar? How easily do they start getting the damage through and getting people down on life? And even me, who's like much more experienced at the game than them. All right. So I've got this video recording. Unfortunately, the audio did not work out very well, but I want to show you around my gaming bar a little bit. I should hold the camera steady, but this is a learning process. I don't do these videos very often. We're going to talk through the book a little bit, as well as the venue. So this is Rule Zero. This is the Olympic Stadium where they did the 2012 Olympics, and it's home to West Ham. This is the bar. You can see we've got our flesh and blood mats out. That's the bar, the logo. You can see this great sort of board game library. Really nice, just space, really clean, pool table, circular tables to chill out in booths. Really great mural that's going up with a dragon. Kind of looks like Mysteria, but I think it's sponsored by Asahi. And of course, we're sitting here. I've got a giant bag full of commoner decks to the side. I've got the two-player mat out from the store. And I, of course, have the law book as well. Generally just getting set up to open this starter deck and get ready to sort of like present it to people. So firstly, should I say the packaging is actually very nice. Someone has told me that LSS aren't entirely happy with the packaging. Like there's a lot of empty space in it, but I will say that there's a foil box. It actually shines pretty nicely. The plastic on the side I found very difficult to open. You get to see a nice shot of the back of my hand. I've been told I have very lovely hands. So, if you want to sponsor this video, you can, for your hand cream or other sort of product like that, you can do that. I will happily put your lotion on my hands for money. God, that sounded a lot worse than I thought it would. So yeah, I mean, I don't like boxes with a lot of dead space, but that's okay. I mean, most boxes do. That two-player playmat looks great. I just don't need it because I've got the cloth one out. But we did use them on the other two tables where we were teaching, and they definitely helped people with the rules. So definitely a great inclusion of that little paper mat. And then, of course, we've got the two decks in there, Rhinar and Dorinthea. I like the fact the box is foiled as well. It's really nice. So we're going to open up these. Obviously, I've already opened them, but we're going to open them up. There's certain pieces of art that I want to show to the camera because they're really nice. In my mind, any of the new pieces they've commissioned for this set are just above and beyond like what we've seen before. The art is just getting so much better in this game. And I really think that the touch of adding in the rainbow foil equipment and the cold foil heroes really gives you something to genuinely appreciate. In the just as a new player, it kind of gives you the idea that yeah, it's okay for your hero to be to be bling, your equipment to be bling, and then if you end up with a legendary that's kind of shiny, it just feels great because you're like, oh, I've got this again. I'm not just playing with commons now. I've got some other stuff. um yeah, so you see, I'm just showing off a few of the new cards. I think the art on all the new cards is fantastic. Even Dorinthea, like, I mean, I want to go to that blacksmith that's on Visit the Blacksmith. It just looks like a sort of classic D&D adventure location, and I just want to go there and role play in that kind of environment. I was less a fan of Muscle Mutt, to be honest, but whatever. Even Dodge is kind of fun. So yeah, I generally thought, like, in terms of premium products, I definitely felt like the foils you got and things like that were very nice. It did occur to me that you're paying a lot of money for what are essentially essentially rainbow foil copies of commons that aren't that expensive sometimes. But I definitely feel like, you do get the impression of premium product a little bit from this. So yeah, I mean, I was just generally very happy. I don't think I need to go into more of that. We'll just leave that on in the background, opening the box, and just talk now about the actual quality of the product. So, and what I did to test it, because there'll be a bit more audio, a bit more nice art, and I'll bring up the lore book as well and show people some of the iconic pages in the lore book. But generally, so what did I do to test this product? I sat down in the morning, about 12 o'clock, with them in front of me. I sleeved them up, both the decks. And then during the day, when I was teaching new players, I taught 5 people the game. And I played about 12, 13, maybe 14 games as Rhinar, as Dorinthea, against those new players, teaching them the concepts, leading them through the games. What will I say? So as an experienced player, the tools were not sufficient so that I could just dominate every game, right? There were some games where I was ahead on life, but I wasn't, like, even if I'm ahead on life by like 10, I'm not actually able to push that much damage without taking it myself, right? That's kind of important. So I'm not actually able to just dominate my opponent with superior skills or superior cards. I actually have to go down a bit to their level, right? Which is important, because it means that even when the game finishes, the new player finishes with a much better feeling about how the game went. Now, that's not to say that I couldn't have played more fatiguey or played better or played tighter just to, win out that game on 20 life. But that's not how I was trying to teach the game. My point is that me playing, we'll say, reasonably better than they are, with all of my tricks and tips and things like that, and things I could sneak through, the ones that I let myself do, I didn't significantly jump ahead when I was playing either deck, because it just let me basically, make the experience for both of us challenging, and taking damage to give damage to them, let them feel like they were staying in the game. So it felt really easy to, let them feel like they were having a great experience while also having a great experience. The power level of the decks is actually very balanced against each other. I will say that Dorinthea feels stronger in the long run, but I think you have this really interesting moment, and this really interesting facet whereby Rhinar actually feels stronger at the start, because he can push a lot of damage, and just having a 6 attack and blocking a lot is actually really good. But once you start to learn the power of the attack reactions and playing through them, Dorinthea starts to become a lot stronger. And I think that's one of the things I really liked about this product, was just how strong Dorinthea became after a bit of practice. So let's just turn that off now. We're kind of finished with that. And even so I found Dorinthea very satisfying to play, but it was very, very easy for new players as well to get the concepts. The reprinted Dorinthea with the new text that said "Go again" gives you a use a second time made much, much more sense. And we even had a few copies of the old Dorinthea there, and people were like, I would understand that a lot less than I understand this. So it made a lot of sense, that change. People were using things like Glistening Spellblade properly, Go Again properly. The importance of giving Go Again to the sword felt really sort of meaty to the game, which made Dorinthea getting Go Again on her weapon, which is, of course, a core function of constructed Dorinthea, very important. And Rhinar sort of setting up his hand so that you would discard a 6 cost felt really easy to do with the addition of the new Herd Call and Vizier headpiece that let you check the top card of your deck, but also really rewarded new players for seeing that interaction and understanding how it turned on cards like Wild Ride or a double Intimidate from that new card. I can't remember the name of it right now. That basically intimidates if you discard a 6 power card, so you get a double Intimidate from that. And even like to the extent of setting up a Blood Rush Bellow and comboing it with Intimidate. Like, a lot of the people who were trying out the game have played other TCGs before, and the second they saw Blood Rush Bellow and they saw a way to intimidate more than 2 cards or 3 cards from your hand, it kind of really clicked. Oh wait, if I do this together as a combo, I can actually do a lot of damage that he can't block. So I will say that I think these 2 heroes actually worked out very, very well in terms of selecting heroes for this. I think they have very straightforward mechanics. They're also very, like, rewarding on the surface. They don't reward you like 5 turns later or in the next cycle, like an Oldhim, or when you build a board state and you finally get to keep the cards, like a Prism, they reward you straight away. Like your weapon getting go again and being able to attack for another 3 or 4 or 5 if you played Slice and Dice is a very, very rewarding feeling. And Rhinar being able to do 6 plus or 8 damage because he set up his hand right and discarded the right card is a really rewarding feeling as well. So I will say that I think both of these heroes were actually very well selected. And I've said this before, like in my review of the set, and I think this is important because I talked about it in the last episode of Steel First Speaks, the main episode. Like my only problem with the entire set is the upgrade pathway of the availability of specific legendaries that are only available in the set, right? I've seen Glistening Steelblade go for £25 already in the UK. A playset for 45 or whatever, and that's from someone who's buying the boxes to sell on certain pieces and make money, right? The fact is that that card is going to be drastically more expensive, but it's not even about the money, right? Because there aren't that many Dorinthea players out there. The main issue I have with it isn't about the cost to an existing player, because let's face it, if you're this invested in Fab, paying 40 quid for a playset of a Majestic isn't that much. I'm more concerned about the upgrade path for a new player who buys that deck to turn it into a Blitz constructed deck, or a Classic constructed deck, and is told, well, the only way you get a second copy of the most powerful card in your deck, which you probably really like because it's Dorinthea art, it's really iconic, it's going to have won you loads of games on the kitchen table. The only way for you to get a second copy of that card is to pay another $30, £40 for that box again, or to buy it from someone who had the same box for a drastically inflated price. And I think that's a really big miss for me with this. So everything else, and this is why this is at the end of the video, because I don't want you to focus on the negatives, I want you to focus on the positives. If you are buying this box for its intended purpose, which is to teach new players, or you're recommending it to your friends and family who want to try the game and play it with their loved ones on the kitchen tabletop, this is actually a fantastic product. The decks feel great into each other. They successfully teach pretty much all of the core mechanics of Flesh and Blood. I mean, having a dodge in your hand when the Dawnblade has attacked for 5. So this has happened. Like, this is really nice. And this is really well. This is what I want to give as an example of really good design. So the Dawnblade will come in for 5. So you'll do Warrior's Valor and attack for 5. If it hits, you get go again, right? The Rhinar player will be like, okay, a lot of my cards block for 3, so let's block for 6. Make sure this doesn't hit. And then the Dorinthea player will go, okay, cool, I get +3 or Fire and Song response, right? The Rhinar player has Dodge in their deck, which is a free 0-cost 2-strength defense reaction, which, as you might have noticed, perfectly lines up with the 5 + 3 being presented by Dorinthea, right? Little things like that make this go from a all-right starter product, like the Blitz decks are an all-right starter product, they have decent cards in, they do the job, to a brilliant starter product, because they've taken the time to think about breakpoints and where these decks need to clash to teach new players things. Like, he will have an attack reaction, but if I keep this, I can trick him into playing the attack reaction and then defense react and not take any damage, right? There were lots of little aha moments facilitated by this deck, simply by the design of the deck and the new cards that were added in. So that's just, it's really good design. On my point, getting like a 9, 10 out of 10 even in terms of design as a new player product. But the addition of that Majestic that is just, a new, I just don't want to have to say to a new player, you want to build a Blitz deck, you want another copy of that, you need to buy a second copy of the box. We had that too much with LCGs, we had that too much with other games that just had bad models. You're buying the third copy of the Netrunner Core for 12 cards that came in 2s, that came in 1s in the box, where other cards were 2 or 3 of in the box. And you're just like, I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to buy the product again. I don't want to have to throw it away again. It's just a negative experience. But, how else do you have a pathway where that new player gets to take their Glistening Steelblades and play it in their new deck and feel really good about it? I think, really, the only thing that would have made sense to me is if both this and the Mentor were legendary, which obviously would put a cap on how good they were in constructed formats, but it also would have meant that you didn't have to chase them in multiples. Alpha Rampage is fine because it's already in print. You can already buy singles of it. But I think the Legendaries and the Majestics should have been... the Majestics and the specialization should have just been Legendary. on the Dorinthea side, and the mentor on the brute side as well should have been legendary too. You should make a situation where no one who wants to move to Classic Constructed has to buy a second copy of this product just to get them, because it really does kind of defeat the purpose, whereby as a new player you have to buy them to upgrade, which feels bad. As an existing player, you have to buy 3 to get 3 copies, which feels bad. And I've seen it's led to, like, because the Rhinar side is is more reprints. I've genuinely seen the Rhinar side selling for 10-15 quid just so someone can buy 3 of the box to get 3 of the Glistening Steelblade for their Dorinthea deck. So that's a bit of friction. But again, I don't want to talk about that too long. Focus on the 10 minutes at the start of this video. The art is actually fantastic. I feel like seeing Rhinar, taking the time to get Rhinar and Dorinthea on those cards that were going in this box. Fantastic work. The art is genuinely above and beyond, and I think really captures the spirit of both decks. And I think people are going to love playing Dorinthea and playing Rhinar with these decks, and all of the art being iconic and tied into the hero is just, it's chef's kiss. It's perfect. They could have just done a load of reprints, but they didn't. They made it actually, I would say, quite a great premium product. I'm really excited for the next Classic Battles. I do hope that they address my feedback and other people's feedback on the Majestics, especially if you're going to print a new one. I will say, for those of you who are really worried about this, I thoroughly expect that by the end of this year, we will have Glistening Steelblade in the supplemental set that comes out before the end of this year. I think this is a temporary problem, probably created by some sort of shipping delay, but it would have been nice for LSS to communicate that maybe, and let people know the expectations for Classic Battles having cards that are staples or not, and let people know that it is coming, because people won't necessarily rush to buy it if they know they can get it cheaper in like 4 or 5 months' time. The main Dorinthea players might, but the other players who just want a full collection will probably chill out and wait for the next set to come out. So that's all I'm really going to say. I wanted to give you guys this feedback from like 14 games of playing this with brand new players just after it's come out. It was a really useful opportunity for me to test it. I'm really glad it happened, and obviously I was delighted to run a new player event that 11 people showed up to. Thanks a lot for listening, and have a great day wherever you are.